Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the National Western Stock Show, the last of the 16 days in January. We're going to get started with our show today for our prospect heifers, but before we do, like we do every single morning, we want to make sure that we pay respects to this great nation. So at this time, if I could have you rise and remove your cover for the playing of the national anthem. Check, check, check. Testing 1, 2. Well, like we mentioned earlier, welcome to Saturday, the last day here at the National Western Stock Show. Also, before we even get started, if everybody realizes this is the last cattle show here in Stadium Arena, the very last one. So take it all in as we evaluate our prospect heifers today. The National Western Stock Show is presented by Common Spirit Health. They're the proud presenting partner and the official first aid provider of the National Western. Common Spirit is committed to unleashing the healing power of humanity through human kindness. You can learn more at mountain.commonspirit.org. And also, if you're online, you can check out our webcast of the stock show, and you can also see the archives of every single show that the National Westerns had to provide at ringsidelive.co, the official live streaming partners of the National Western. So we appreciate the team from them being here, as well as our official photographers of Legacy Livestock Imaging. Heidi and her team do a fantastic and a fabulous job every single year of capturing the moments that make this year historic for 2025. So we will go ahead and get started with our first class of prospect feeder heifers. Our prospect feeder heifers first class and all of our classes will be born of January 1st in 2024 and or after. And our first class will include 8 entries. We'll have entries from Elizabeth Quick, 2 of them, as a matter of fact, with a weight of 552 and 553. We'll have an entry from Sophia Ritchie with a weight of 569. Peyton Luark with a weight of 607. Ryden Post with a weight of 631. McKinley Long with a weight of 635, Keith Page with a weight of 670, and Cree Frigito with a weight of 687. Those are your entries that are supposed to make up class number 1 of our prospect feeder heifers. And I don't have a bio for our judge, but he is here, so that's a good thing. Half of the battle is just showing up, so we appreciate him braving the weather and getting here. And it wouldn't be stock show without a little bit of snow on the ground, so we appreciate our judge evaluating our prospects as we move along through the day today. Well, with a little bit of help from my ringside live help, as well as the power of Google and the internet, our judge for today's contest is Mr. Chad Holtkamp, and I'm going to go based on what I'm seeing online, and you know they can't put anything online that's not true. So Chad Holtkamp resides in West Point, Iowa, where he owns and operates Holtkamp Cattle. Chad believes the beef cattle industry teaches the youth the value of hard work and thoughtful conversation and helps develop the next generation. So we appreciate Mr. Chad Holtkamp being our judge for our prospects today in our heifer categories. Now that we have our exhibitors lined up and bringing into the ring, we'll go over them once more. We have 2 entries that make up class number 1 from Elizabeth Quick with a weight of 552 and 553. Sophia Ritchie with a weight of 569. Peyton Luark with a weight of 607. Ryden Post with a weight of 631. McKinley Long with a weight of 635. Keith Page with a weight of 670. And Cree Frigito with a weight of 687. Those are your entries that will make up class number 1 of our prospect feeder heifers.
Good morning, everybody. You know, sure excited to be here, and excited, I guess, maybe doesn't tell the whole story as you go out here and you think about just history and tradition and having the opportunity to judge the last cattle show in this ring. It does mean a lot. It makes it extra special. And I think as we kind of got going around here, I kind of get caught up in the emotions. I had to back up and take a deep breath and then just sit back and start to evaluate the cattle. And we broke down that class. We had a little late addition as we go here and take them in here and just judge the heifers. We're in the prospect market heifer side, so we're going to put a little emphasis there. Quality, still quality, as we put a little power. But young man, your gray baldy, she's beautiful. She's got a great look. She is high end in terms of the way she's put together. She's so good in terms of you start up there in her head, her neck, into her shoulder. Her shoulder blends. More importantly, how good it is in her forerib and her rear rib. Still got some muscle, got some power. She gets out of her front end from a structure really well. Now, if I nitpick her a little bit, I'd maybe change her a little bit in terms of her hock and how she utilizes that at times. But that's a high quality heifer that's got a distinct advantage in terms of look and power and just combination of those traits that were coming out here. Young man's heifer in second. She has the advantage in this class of the mass and the power. She is awesome in terms of her center body, her rib, her explosiveness in that midsection. I like that about her. I like her thickness, and I like the way she maintains that thickness from front to back. Now, when I get out here and I criticize her a little bit, she comes out. She wants to lean a little far forward in terms of her shoulder. She's not as naturally comfortable as she gets out and goes with that little extra set to her hind leg. Compared to ideal and definitely compared to our class winner. But that's a really good heifer that fits this division in terms of beefy and mass. And yet one, I think she'll make a market heifer. And 1, 2, I still think that she could still work in show steer production. That's a good heifer. She's going to have a lot of good days. Congratulations to you. The green heifer here in third. And one that you look at her, she's maybe not as smoothly clipped as a couple that went in front of her. She's really smooth pattern. She's got a good look. She's fresh in terms of her head and neck. She's true in terms of her outline. But where I picked on her a little bit and where I put her third, I'd like to open her up. She's a little bit narrower in terms of her chest. I'd like to give her a little more dimension and power. I like her overall quality. As she matures, gets bigger and stouter, I think she's going to have some good days. But today I thought there just wasn't enough of her for her to come up short in third. But I still like that heifer. She's got a lot of good in terms of her angles. Young lady here got the softest set of eyes. You look and talk to her, and just the kindness you can tell that she has for her animal is good to see. And that's a heifer when I first looked up in terms of just thickness and power, top and hip. I think she's a very, very impressive animal. As we go and the more I look at her, she becomes rounder in terms of her hip, not acceptable enough for me in terms of hock to the ground. I'd like to see her longer in terms of her pastern, set down a little more comfortable in terms of her hind leg. Part of that will come as she gets more relaxed. She was the most tensed up female out here, but again, a high quality female that did a good job of bringing her and showing. Young lady here had a pair of heifers here. This is a good smooth made heifer. She's a little more maternal in terms of how she's built. She's flat about her shoulder. She's deep in terms of her body. I need more boldness, a little more roundness to her rib and top if we're going to fit within this division. She's still got a lot of good that I like about her. A stout-legged one that comes out here next. It's got some power. She has some shape, some muscularity in terms of the upper part of her hip. I like that about her. But right here today, I'd just like to soften her to midsection. Is just look at her rear rib and flank. We need just a little bit more dimension in that area for her to kind of balance up. I see her extremely green in terms of condition. I think she can change as she gets out there and goes in age. Same with the other two. We could talk about condition as they get out here. I think they do a nice job as well. Young lady thrown in here with a white heifer. I love her outline, her upper skeleton's really well. I'd change her in terms of her structure. The black heifer the same way. We just like her top, her hip. She's got some things that fit within this division. Just needs a little more midsection, a little more condition. Good way to start. Give those exhibitors a nice round of applause as we start out here today.
Your results for class number 1 of your prospect feeder heifers. 8th place, Sophia Ritchie. 7th place, entry 1,276 from Elizabeth Quick. 6th place, Peyton Luark. 5th place, entry 1,278, Elizabeth Quick. 4th place, Cree Frigido. Third place, McKinley Long. Second place, Keith Page. And your class winner was Ryden Post. In the ring at this time now is class number 2 of our feeder heifers. We have 9 entries that are slated for class number 2. We have entries from Peyton Landers with a weight of 695. Paisley Luark with a weight of 698. Robert Helgens with a weight of 731. Brock Fassett with a weight of 735. Caleb Thompson with a weight of 736. Coy Johnson with a weight of 744. Elizabeth Quick with a weight of 762. Casey Midcamp with a weight of 766. And rounding out our class is Clayton Barch with a weight of 782. These are your entries that will make up class number 2 of your feeder heifers.
What a really good class here. These prospect market heifers, just exceptional, in terms of quality. These top three and all the way down is still really a good class. And, I think we have some differences, and I think we could debate and have a conversation about all three of these in terms of some attributes. You could go ahead and start the class, and I wouldn't argue with you. It just gets down to personal preference. As you think about a judge's role and what a judge is there supposed to do, we can all agree in terms of balance and muscle and structure. It's just your life experiences of how you line your priorities, and that's the only difference. If we could agree in terms of how I describe them and where you see your differences, there's really no debate in terms of placing. It's just in my life experiences where some things fit together, what I like from my preference. This young man's peach heifer goes ahead and is the one that fits together. Where she does is just, and I don't want to say a completeness, but she puts some things together extremely well. She's awesome in terms of her balance. She is the boldest in terms of her rib. When you talk about upper spread to her rib, and the big difference of her winning the class, not only does she move good, but she's so good in that transition from her shoulder to her forerib, and still full in terms of her midsection back into her flank. She's stout in terms of her muscle. She's still smooth. She's good about her joints. She's not the stoutest footed, biggest boned one. I will admit that, and that's where maybe you could talk about her and give her just a little more stoutness from that standpoint. But young man, I like that heifer when she gets out in the move. I love her balance. That is my kind in terms of where I list my priorities and move down and start with. So that's a good heifer. Young man here, I know he worked really hard, and he's very proud of his dark red heifer, comes in second, and I would be too, and I think she's an exceptionally good heifer, and I'm going to tell you where I think she is really good. I think she has that extra stoutness and power. I think she does a great job of taking that power and that kind of structure and still does a good job in terms of the way she sets her feet at the corner, the way she moves, and the way she gets out. As I talked about, I would probably change her a little bit. I'd like to give her just a little bit more forerib dimension, a little more turn to the upper part of her top, and maybe just a little more lower quarter. Combine that with just her moderate size and her future growth. But I know I said a lot of things that maybe weren't as flattering, but I'm telling you, that is a very impressive animal to be that wide and stout and still have a running gear that meets the ground with that much flexibility and correctness. She has a good look. Those two just had a few differences. I like both of them two heifers really well. Young man, you've got a really good heifer to be proud of, one I sure like and appreciate. The heifer here in third is one that, she has some very, very good uniqueness to her as well. She's the most expressive and the most powerful as you get in behind her in terms of just hip, volume of muscle, width, shape, however you want to say it. She is impressive in that standpoint. She is a bigger framed animal than the first two. I think she's got more extension. I like those things about her. Though compared to that power, I didn't think she was quite as impressive from a structural standpoint in terms of foot size, hock angle, the way she met the ground, in terms of her sheer balance of the two right ahead of her. But that's a very high quality heifer that's got a lot of good. I think we got a thick top, big ended one comes out here next. She's a little longer bodied, and that makes her harder to just kind of give us that balance when we look at her from the side. She's still dimensional as you get out in there. I think a good heifer, just again, as we talk about, gives up a little bit from proportionality to the three heifers right there ahead of her. But young lady did a nice job of showing, gets her presented, gets everything out of her. The black and white one, young man, kind of fought her just a little bit. One that she didn't want to relax, to really show herself off, to give us that look. And I think part of that, not showing herself off, maybe how she ate and drank, because I think she's a little, what I call a little bit drier in terms of her rib. I'd like to see a little more fullness, a little more dimension. She has some shape. Her angles are good. Her movement in terms of flexibility are very impressive. Just like to see just a little bit more to her from a body standpoint. Love the silhouette of this white heifer. Young man did a great job of getting her presented to us today. Spectacular in terms of just her whiteness and brightness, as you say. She's got a great look in terms of her head and neck. I like her muscularity in terms of top and hip. I think that is very impressive. I'd like to soften her body, but most importantly, I'd probably change her or question her a little bit in terms of her structure in her front end. I think she gets a little bit splay-footed up front, but a good heifer with a lot of future. did a very nice job. The Silver Baldy coming out here, she's a big, muscular, shapely kind of a heifer. Just need to soften her up in terms of just her midsection. Give her a little more smoothness kind of there to that lower shoulder. But she's a big-footed, very flexible, high-quality heifer in a really good class, and I commend the young lady for doing a good job. The other young lady coming out here done a good job showing as well, coming out here in the big stage with the white-legged one. I like her balance from her body. I just got to open her up, give her more true muscle to give her a little bit more dimension to be more competitive. Just the same with the other heifer. I like her length of body. I like her smoothness. I just got to give her more power, more dimension to make her a little more competitive, but still a very, very good heifer here to be at the National Western.
Results for class number 2 of your feeder heifers. 9th place, Robert Helgens. 8th place, Paisley Luark. 7th place, Peyton Landers. 6th place, Caleb Thompson. 5th place, Clayton Bark. 4th place, Elizabeth Quick. 3rd place, Casey Midcap. 2nd place, Brock Fassett. And your class winner was Coy Johnson. We will now make way for our Class 3 of our prospect feeder heifers. This is our last individual class of our feeder heifers. Class number 3 of our feeder heifers consists of 8 total entries. We will have entries from Vienna Sales Jamie of weight of 823. Kendall McKenzie will have a weight of 825. Easton Bose with a weight of 835. Colin Hawkison with a weight of 855. Tinley Weathers with a weight of 880. Willow Martinez with a weight of 905. Another entry from Vienna Sales Jamie with a weight of 936. And rounding out our class is Owen Hockaday with a weight of 1010. Those are your entries that make up our final class of our prospect feeder heifers.
as we get out here in, again, in this class, this division. This class here is by far the toughest of the three. We're going to keep 4 of them out of this class. We come back out here and keep our top 5 because I do think it was extremely tough. And, my compliments to the young man on the far end to bring a heifer of that quality and come up short. It's part of cattle showing. Some days your day and we want to, but some days you come a little short, but doesn't change the fact you're still going home with a really good one. This top pair, and, as I migrate down, some things I'd change about this Baldy, but she just hits me really hard. And one, I think she's so powerful, so massive, and yet still gives you that really good look. When that young lady gets her set up on the side, I think she's very captivating. The way her neck comes out of her shoulder, how big top, big hip, how powerful she is. She's still flexible at the ground. Where I'd change her, she gets up in her jump muscle is how I'm going to call it. Maybe get just a little smoother when she goes. She's wanting to get outside of herself just a little bit, but not too bad. I still like that power, yet with one that's got that kind of look and that kind of attractiveness, she hits me really hard of a heifer I like. Young man's heifer here. Now, she does have the advantage of being the big heifer in terms of weight, but I think when you break her down and study her, she is still built really good. She is complete. She's proportional for one that has that much power. She has the advantage. Not only this is the biggest top, biggest hip one, and we talked about that weight-wise probably gives her some advantage, but just the way she's built. She's robust in terms of her rib and center body, still clean about her joints, good about her angles. You think about it, this division here, you want to talk about making these, even steer mamas to raise a show steer. You get that much mass and power and still in a good package. She's a thick, little shorter face, but she's a thick skulled one. Everything matches about her. I just see a lot of things that she could do in just her production side and still being a powerful female. I think it's a good heifer. She's maybe not as tricked out in terms of cleanliness of neck and upturnedness and attractiveness of the Baldy heifer I started with, but folks, that's really good cattle that does a really nice job. The peach-colored heifer coming out here next. When she first walked in, I tied right to and study. I like her look. She wraps those ears around her head, gives you a good balanced look in terms of mobility and movement. As I break her down a little bit and we get her back out there again, just kind of her lower full rib, kind of her lower shape is where I'd change her. Lower full rib, her lower quarter, I thought maybe just a little higher in terms of her twist. She give up the disadvantage in terms of just sheer power and performance, but that's a very high quality heifer. I still think is in the mix of it as we talk about one with that kind of look as we bring her back out here. I wouldn't say that she wouldn't. I do like that heifer really well. This heifer here is just a shot of foot size away from being really good. She has so much body and she's so square in the upper part of her skeleton, her hip. She's true from her forerib to her rear flank. I love that body balance she gives us when we stand back off the side. She still has some width and some power, but she just doesn't have the structure to set her foot at the ground to match her mass, especially when we get in the fast track to some of them cattle out here. This all white heifer. She's flexible. She's shapely. She's got a good look. She's high quality, and could you move her up? Yes, but I think this is where she belongs. She's a little rounder shouldered, maybe just doesn't fit together as well as some of the cattle right there ahead of her, but that's still good stock. That's going to have a lot of good days and do a lot of good things for that young lady. That was a tough spot to fit a heifer like her. Just as I talked about leading the day with this young man, it's a thick top, big hipped one. I think she just won that maybe didn't take the trip as well again, because I think she's probably got a little more midsection she's wanting to show us here today. But she's well presented, well cared for, did a good job. Give those guys a nice round of applause. My compliments to those guys.
Your results for class number 3, your final class of your prospect feeder heifers. 6th place was Colin Hokeson. 5th place, Kendall McKenzie. 4th place, Tinley Weathers. 3rd place, Easton Bowes. 2nd place, Owen Hockaday. And your class winner was Willow Martinez. We will now bring back our top individuals from each of their respective classes, and your judge, Mr. Chad Holtkamp, will select your top 5 prospect feeder heifers. We're getting our top 3 exhibitors from each of their respective classes lined up. So from our first class, your top 3 exhibitors, first place was Riding Post, second place with Keith Page, third place McKinley Long. From your second class, your top 3, first place was Coy Johnson, second place was Brock Fassett, third place was Casey Midcap. From your third class, which was just in the ring, your top 3 individuals, first place was Willow Martinez, second was Owen Hockaday, and 3 was Easton Bowes. Those are your top 3 individuals from your 3 classes of your Prospect Feeder Heifers.
As we get out here in your market heifer division, this set of cattle, and I know we get them back out here. We're picking the top 5, and we brought them going 3 deep as we brought them out here. And what we wanted to show as well is there's no use for those kids to be out here. They've worked hard to get them out here, and we're just showcasing some hard work, some effort, some blood, sweat, and tears, so they can share in their moment, being out here and competing here at the National Western. And like I say, numbers not huge, but boy, quality is high. And anytime you want to come to a national level show with a magnitude of this level, you want to get excited. You want to get after it. It's a neat division. Whether or not you make market heifers out of them or steer mamas on down the road, you can get very excited about it. And I know last night on the news I watched the sale of champions. You talk about how passionate we are, and they talked about selling it. And Miss Madeline was so taken back by the experience of the sale and what it brought. I thought that was very, very unique. But what hit me harder was when you had the gentleman there that bought the animal, Hutchison Western. He bought the animal. He did it in memory of his dad, Butch, that had passed away this last year. That meant a lot to him, and I think about that. And what we do means so much to so many of us. It is so broad spectrum that we talk about. A lot of times, it's not the animal that we're doing. We're working on the young people. It's the same as this livestock show. This is a community for how it impacts the industry. It's so far reaching, and as it did me, and we'll talk about there. But, this is a neat division. I love this division. I think these steer mamas could then maybe someday make a steer to go out here and sell here at the National Western as we move forward. And I'll wait to talk about there. But, good lineup. I think we've got some power. I think we've got quality. I like it. We're going to have a great top 5. Folks, put your hands together. I'll go out here and we'll pitch you a top 5 of cattle that I'm sure proud of.
Your champion prospect feeding heifer comes from class number 3. That is from Willow Martinez with a weight of 905. Your reserve champion feeder heifer for prospects comes from class number 2. That is Coy Johnson with a weight of 744. Third overall will come from class number 2. That is going to be the second place from Brock Fassett with a weight of 735. Your fourth overall comes from class number 3. That is a second place from Owen Hockaday with a weight of 1010. And your fifth overall comes from the first class. That is from Ride and Post with a weight of 631. Congratulations to our top 5 exhibitors, as well as all of our honorable mentions that made it to the championship drive. We will clear out our ring and bring in our prospect breeding heifers. Our prospect breeding heifer show will have heifers born January 1st of 2024 and or after. We'll start up with class number 1 of our prospect breeding heifers here just momentarily. We welcome our spectators and exhibitors into our show ring here. This is our first class of our prospect breeding heifers born January 1st of 2024 and or after. Our first class will consist of entries from McKinley Long with a weight of 507, Kaysen Gerondo with a weight of 556, Ian Madden with a weight of 579, Sage Carnahan with a weight of 590, Brock Fassett with a weight of 648. Another entry from Ian McFadden with a weight of 662. An entry from Case Carnahan with a weight of 664. Summer Wangerow with a weight of 669. And rounding out our class is Jackson Walker with a weight of 678. Those are your entries that will make up your first class of your breeding heifers.
What good way to start off our prospect breeding heifer class. A good class to work through, and hopefully you can follow along. I'm doing it a little different. Did the market side there. I just think breeding cattle as we come back out here, and this is, I could tell right away we got in here. It's a competitive group, and I mentally like to make sure I'm focusing on what I like best and go ahead and pull them best ones and then work my way through. And to me, I think it's just a thorough way to give everybody a sincere evaluation to put the best that I can put them. So I do like that. There's no doubt about who wins this class. She come in here and she was tensed up and coiled up, but there was still no doubt in my mind. This heifer is just head and shoulders above the competition within this group. I think she's got some really unique pieces, and the way she ties them together, I think, is just to a really high degree. And I think she sets the standard that we're going to have an awesome division in this if we're going to bring out heifers of higher quality than her, which we sure could. But that's a good way to start, young man. I love her balance, her quality. That's just simply a good one. We'll leave it at that and talk about her again. Then we got here between the second and third, and what I like about this young man's heifer in second, she doesn't have the power to go ahead and compete. We talk about that. But what she is still a very feminine built, smooth shouldered, good in terms of her body, good in terms of her balance. We could stouten her up a little bit, but yet we're still at a breeding heifer show. I think she's got enough. I think she's got a very maternal look to her. And I think if she gets and relaxes, she'll show herself off a little bit better. The peach heifer that we come out here and pulled out here, in that second set spot and brought her out here in terms of third. What I like about her is, I think she looks the best when you put her on the move for her as an individual. She's round and stout in terms of her rib shape. She's still maternal in terms of the way she puts together. I still thought one for power. She still was smooth the way she's put together. There's times when we get her to stop, she gets a little funky right there at her hip and her tail head and a little more set to her hind leg. It does not show up as much when we put her in motion. I think she maintains her balance really well, and that's something that's going to be important today as we talk about that, is maintaining your balance when you're put into motion. I think those are some difference makers. Young man's old Smoky heifer comes out here next, and she's, again, very attractive, very proportional, just gives up way too much to compete in terms of power and mass with the cattle ahead of her, but she's still good in terms of her angles, good in terms of her kind, and I like it, appreciate that heifer really well. The other green heifer here coming out next, this young lady does a nice job with her. She has some uniqueness to her as well, and just in terms of her head and neck, the way it's assembled, the way she still ties in tight about her shoulder. And with that extreme in terms of her front end, she's still got some muscle, got some thickness, got some power. We need to open her up at her chest floor, give a little more dimension. But part of that just being green and young, you could tell her maturity pattern gives up to some of the cattle right there ahead of her. But a very, very nice heifer. The white-footed heifer probably has a little more mass than the heifer right ahead of her. I like those things about her. The front 2/3 is really good. I think I appreciate that as good as any of them. But for me, where it gets to is her rear hock. She's a little too sharp in her hock. She's a little incorrect in terms of the angle, the way she sets her hind leg down, which again, as we talk about, puts her in motion, just throws her balance off. The Baldy heifer. She is long-bodied, young man. I like her length to her front end. She's got the femininity from that standpoint. We just got to give her a little bit more center body, a little more depth of side for her to compete. The gray heifer has that depth of side advantage over the heifer that I placed ahead of her, but she too tapers a little bit. We look at her from her hooks to her pins, gets a little bit, I'd like to clean her rear hock up a little bit. She's got just a little bit more coarseness there and change it a little bit. Then the green heifer, again, very feminine, nice head and neck. Just needs more body, needs a little more correctness, but a nice heifer. Great way to start off our Prospect Heifer Show with an outstanding class.
The results coming in for class number 1 of your prospect breeding heifers. 9th place was Sage Carnahan. 8th place, Ian Madden. 7th place, Case Carnahan. 6th place, Ian Madden. 5th place, McKinley Long. 4th place, Kaysen Giordano. 3rd place, Summer Wengaro. 2nd place, Brock Fassett. And your class winner was Jackson Walker. In the ring at this time now is class number 2 of our breeding heifers. Within this class, we have entries from Hilton Smith with a weight of 695. Avery McDaniel with a weight of 707. Haley Walker with a weight of 714. Peyton Landers with a weight of 721. Abby Talak with a weight of 728. Schindling Genetics with a weight of 732. Sean Roth with a weight of 734. Riley Joseph with a weight of 780. And rounding out our class is Reese Locke with a weight of 783. Those are your entries that make up your 2nd class of your prospect breeding heifers.
Boy, as we get out here again, just like in the class before, we've got, some quality on the top end. I think as you go through and, I know similar to how we talked in that class before, I think we've got a really dominant heifer to go ahead and start with. And I think she is, when she gets relaxed, there's times when she gets tensed up, maybe you'd like to throw her together a little better. But boy, when she gets relaxed, she's a lot of times, if I say captivated, she will command your attention just in terms of the way her neck comes up so high to her shoulder, to be that attractive up there and yet be so deep in terms of her side, from her top to her belly line, and yet still have some roundness and some shape to them. She's very, very maternal, got a show heifer look, and I think has some things that a guy can tie into. When she gets nervous, she gets a little up in her top, maybe wants to be a little piecey at times, but there's still no doubt she's my heifer to go ahead and start the class with. Now, second and third, you could go through and you could debate this all day long, and I'm not going to argue with you. I don't know where it's right or wrong. The one that ends up third, I kind of thought she matched in terms of length of front end, extension of our class winner, but when it came down to, and I'd ask myself, like I do a lot of times, and said, okay, where do you land, where do you stay at? I'm a cow guy. I still have to cover the basics as we first start before we move on to too many differences in terms of like just cleanness of throat latch. The Baldy heifer just covers that for me in terms of her midsection. I like her body shape. I like her maternal center rib. She's awesome from her fore rib back to her rear rib and flank. She's still long and productive about her hip into her hind leg. Where she is she's got just a little extra throat and just enough not to discount it. I like that kind of cattle probably just a little bit better, where I think she goes ahead and fits in the second spot. Now, where the one and third is very attractive in terms of length of her front end, the way she gets out, and I like that she still has some shape, her length of body. To me, I just got to have more fore rib, a little more true body, and I could live with some of that, though, but at times I think she needs to be a little longer pastern. She don't want to sit down and drive off of her hind leg. I think if she drives off of her hind leg, with that awesome softness to her hind leg and her pastern, I think I could overlook a few things, but I think as we put some things together, I just need to soften her in those areas, but still a high quality heifer that's got a lot of good. The one comes out here next. I like her smoothness, her muscularity. She still could be deeper in terms of her rear rib and flank, but she's still got some power, clean about her joints, sets down good, maybe not as amplified in terms of her lines and attractiveness of the cattle right ahead of her, but still that's a good heifer that's got a lot of good to her. Then we get into a heifer that's really deep-sided, and she's got that midsection that I talk about. She still comes up high to her shoulder that you'd like a female to do. But for me, one of my sticking points I have when we talk about full rib, and tailhead's the other one, I just have to be more comfortable in terms of the way her tailhead is assembled in the top part of her hip. But a good female, and I think one that you could argue, and I wouldn't put up much of a fight if you want to go ahead and move her up a spot. I thought that was a debatable pair. Young lady did a nice job of showing. There was no doubt about that in terms of presentation that way, but just a little bit more refined. Young man here having a great time. Him and his dad come together, named his heifer. She's very smooth. She's very feminine. I like that about her. For me, just to maybe a little more refined in terms of her bone with the elevation she has in terms of frame. I'd probably like to soften her lower third a little bit. But again, a high quality heifer. Big, stout, thick one comes out here next. Change your hind leg. The Hereford appearing heifer coming out here next. A little bit longer toed. She's still good in terms of her balance. Young lady did a nice job. Congratulations to those exhibitors.
Your results for class number 2 of your breeding heifers. 8th place, Avery McDaniel. 7th place, Schleining Genetics. 6th place, Hilton Smith. 5th place, Reese Locke. 4th place, Peyton Landers. 3rd place, Sean Roth. 2nd place, Haley Walker. And your class winner, Abby Tulloch. We've cleared out our ring to make way for class number 3. Class number 3 has 9 total entries of breeding heifers. Within class number 3, we have entries from Genevieve Williams with a weight of 786. We'll have 2 entries from LCCC Livestock Show Team. The weights will be 798 and 803. Entry from Aubrey Weiss. Aubrey Weiss. Let me try that again. With a weight of 808. Kennedy Arthur with a weight of 814. Rylan Krebs with a weight of 824. Adriana Richards with a weight of 836. Ian Madden with a weight of 842. And rounding out our class is Wade Assay with a weight of 845. Those are your entries that make up class number 3 of your prospect breeding heifers. Class number 3 is our third class in a total of 5 classes for today. And just like our feeder heifers and our prospect steers from yesterday, we will be picking our top individuals from each of our classes and bring them back for our judge to select your top 5 overall.
Kind of the theme of the day here at your Prospect Heifer Show is, we bring one out here that, kind of distance themselves again, just like the first two classes we had out here. There's no doubt that this heifer here, the roan heifer, she comes out here, she's pretty dominant within this class, and she does some things, and I tell you, we're going to have to talk about those in our champion lineup, because we do have some variations in terms of from the first one to the second one. They're different, but they're similar, but they're different. They're high-end quality. What I love about your heifer, what I really like, is that one gives you that presence of quality and kind. She's good about her structure, but one other thing I like about her, she's got something to her. She's got some power. She's got some rib shape. She's long about her hips. She's very flexible. She does some things really well, and I think she gets out here. She's really easy to gravitate towards, but I like a lot of things that she stands for, and having a little extra power with that kind of look, the way she's tucked in about her chest floor back to her rib and flank. Very impressive heifer. I like really well as well. The heifer here in second, I think she logically fits right there in the second spot. She is massive in terms of her center body, in terms of depth. She's got some muscularity and power. Now, with that extra power, I'd probably like to smooth her up just a little bit in terms of the way she's from her shoulder kind of back there in terms of just her hip structure. But what I do like about her, I like her foot size, I like her shape, I like her foot integrity and the way she sets it down around this ring. I think she does that there to a very, very high degree. Not quite as neatly put together as our class winner, but still a very, very good second heifer. The next three is, go ahead and bring the next one out here. I think they kind of log jammed a little bit in terms of how you go, and you just got to go ahead and hit your preferences of what you like. Young lady, what I like about your heifer is she's very deep-sided. She's got the big hair, but she's good from her fore rib to her rib and flank. She's still got some turn to her top, still got some length to her hip. I'd like to give her a little more lower quarter, if that makes sense, to get her to truly balance with the elite ones right there ahead of her, but a good complete heifer that's still deep-sided, very feminine, did a nice job. Young man, your heifer, I love her front end. I love her freshness. I love her attractiveness. What I need to do is just her hind legs. Today she's given me just a little more set, a little more hook, so to say. If we could just get her, she stands there good in terms of her angles. When she goes, she gets a little hooky. She could easily moved up a spot and been in contention for second within this class. But the way she gets out and goes today, just not comfortable enough for her to move up any higher. Young man, I know your heifer's giving you a fit, and her body shape and kind is one that probably needs to be talked about from a second place. She's awesome from the side in terms of the way she's put together. Where we get out here, I was kind of giving her the benefit out to start when she kind of took off, being a little choppy. But for me, the longer the class went, she gets a little straighter in those angles. She gets a little straight in terms of postie and her hind leg. I'd like to flex her up a little bit, but I like her build, her side profile, some things she does really well. As we come around the corner with a really loud colored heifer, she really has a natural way of holding her head so high, and naturally the way she presents herself. She is so long body that it's hard to get her to have that midsection with the cattle right there ahead of her. I like some things about her. We just got to soften her up in terms of her body, her shape. Young lady's heifer coming out here next. Muscular heifer. She's got some shape. She's got a lot of width up high. I'd clean her up in her rear hock, her front knee, just to give her a little more softness and cushion. The black baldy heifer coming out here next. Love her side profile. She's very feminine. She gets a little refined. I'd like to give her a little more width to her base. She gets a little narrow as she gets out and goes, becomes a little more refined. The red heifer has more body, a little more dimension than the heifer before, but just a little coarser in terms of what I would say her angles, has a little more tail head, a little more hock. Just like to balance her up a little bit. But again, outstanding class here in your Prospect Heifer Show.
Your results for Class 3 of your prospect breeding heifers. 9th place, Genevieve Williams. 8th place, Aubrey Weiss. 7th place, the second entry from LCCC Livestock Show Team. 6th place, Ian Madden. 5th place, Wade Assay. 4th place, Rylan Krebs. 3rd place, the first entry from LCCC Livestock Show Team. 2nd place, Adriana Richards. And your class winner was Kennedy Arthur. Now stepping into our show ring is going to be class number 4. We will have 9 entries of our prospect breeding heifers. Within this class, we will have entries from Ashlyn Assay with a weight of 850, Ellie Crosscob with a weight of 851, Tessa Delmore with a weight of 855, Kira Bremer with a weight of 861, Kendall McKenzie with a weight of 866, Kelton Arthur with a weight of 886, Mark Williams with a weight of 893, Jet Jameson with a weight of 908, and Ellie Crosscrob with a weight of 922. Those are your entries that will make up class number 4. Class number 4 is the second to last class of our prospect breeding heifers.
As we get out here, folks, welcome to the cow show, as I like to say at times. And, this is a stout group, and then I bring them out here and I try to talk about them as a four, but, there is no doubt that this is a top pair of elite cattle that represent some different things of how you want to go. And I can talk about them. There's enough differences between them in terms of going out there. Young man, what I really was brought to my attention and so captivated about this heifer to start with when she first comes in there, you take that one with a little extra shape and dimension, she is so athletic. She is so commanding, the way she utilizes her hind leg, the way she sets down her foot in her pastern, and things I don't think we talk about where I think she's got the distinct advantage in the pair is just her looseness to her top. The way she has some flexibility to how comfortable she is when she gets out and go. And boy, I tell you what, she doesn't give up for look and presence. Her neck comes up high of her shoulder. Her chest floor is tucked in there tight. Still got some shape, some dimension we talk about. I just think that's a very high-end heifer that does some things really, really, really well. And just as we look at her, I love and appreciate a lot of things about her. Young lady, your heifer doesn't give up anything in those areas in terms of look and presence. And you could argue the fact, and I wouldn't argue a bit, when we're standing still, we're looking at them from the side. This thing is just so beautifully put together in terms of the femininity, starting with her head, her neck, the way she ties in about her shoulder to her forearm, how awesome she is in that lower body in terms of her rib, good and clean about her joints. Where I think she comes up second, for me, just gives up a little extra foot and bone, a little bit of power. She gets out and goes good. I thought the other one had advantage to be just a little softer in terms of her top. But that is a high-end heifer that's got upside galore, and I sure appreciate a lot of things about it. That's a nice pair of cattle. Then we get this young lady's heifer. This here heifer is one that commands your attention. She's a little more elevated in terms of frame size that maybe just hits me right in my sweet spot. But you cannot argue the fact that just the way her neck comes up out of her shoulder, she wraps those ears around her head, that she's just exquisite to look at. She's balanced really well for her size. She's big in terms of her bone, but clean in terms of her joints. I think that's something that's really impressive about her. Now, she probably, for her condition, probably could be a little softer compared to the two ahead of her in terms of body and change her tail head. But boy, that one's got a big-time look and a big-time future as you take that one as a big bred heifer, later on in next fall run, or even back here as a big bred, depending on what breed she is. That one's got a lot of good to her, young lady, and you'll have fun with her on down the road. Just two really good heifers as we get right there ahead of you. Young man's got a good big-bodied heifer, and I think I love the way she's still got a little shoulder, but it fits together where she's at. She's fourth in this class because of her hock. She just a little, I just like to see her just a little tight in, a little tighter. She's a little smoother right in that spot. Young lady's got a big-bodied, square-built one, good down her top, good down her hip, just a little rigid in terms of her front-end structure. In terms of structure, I'd just like to soften her on both ends. Next heifer, she's probably a little more muscular heifer, a little more markety heifer style. She got top and hip, gets a little bit of jump muscle, just got to smooth her up, balance her up a little bit more, but a good kind of a heifer. Black heifer going out, just a good, attractive, smooth-made heifer, a little straight on both ends. The red heifer still brings up the class with a lot of quality. She's got muscle, she's got rib shape. Just got to smooth her up, clean her joints up a little bit for her to be a little more competitive, but an outstanding class. Give those exhibitors a nice round of applause. That's a great class.
Your results for class number 4 of your prospect breeding heifers. 8th place, Mark Williams. 7th place, Ashlyn Assay. 6th place, Ellie Crosscobb. 5th place, Ellie Crosscobb. Fourth place, Jet Jameson. Third place, Tessa Delmore. Second place, Kira Brimmer. And your class winner was Kelton Arthur. In the ring at this time is now going to be our last class of our prospect breeding heifers. This is also the last class of cattle that will come through Stadium Arena. This is class number 5. We have entries from Owen Werakis with a weight of 934. We'll have an entry from Jet Jameson with a weight of 936. Tyson Johnson with a weight of 975. We'll have 2 entries from LCCC's Livestock Show team. The first one will have a weight of 988. The second one will have a weight of 993. We'll have an entry from Reed Pratt with a weight of 1,006 pounds. Owen Hockaday with a weight of 1,010 pounds. And Willow Martinez with a weight of 1,080. That will make up your last class for our breeding heifers and the last class for this historic building built in 1909, 116 years. Comes down to this last class. I'll draw it out a little bit more. 116 years. 1909, this building has been the exhibition hall for great exhibitors, breeders, showmen, and parents. We appreciate everyone that has made this such a historic staple in the great state of Colorado.
As we get down here in this class and, talk to some of them young people, as you listen to our announcers, we talk about, the last class. And that's a special moment, that these kids get to hang on to. And what a historic treasure that the National Western has been for the livestock industry and each of us, and just a lot to reflect as we go on to. But it makes it neat within this class, and those in here can say that. As far as this Prospect Heifer Show, as we come out here and go again, we've had some really high-end quality, good cattle to go ahead and win these classes and be to the top. There's still a no-doubter in this class in terms of winning this class, this Baldy heifer. That is good livestock. She's awesome in terms of her balance. She's good in terms of her structure. She looks good standing there. And I still think she looks better as you put her in motion. I think she is dual purpose as you want to make one, and yet you still talk about one that's going to make a cow at the end of the day. I just see nothing but lots of productivity, lots of quality, lots of good in this class winner. She may not be the stoutest in terms of foot and bone because we got a stouter one behind her, but that's high quality livestock that I could sure get my hands on. Standing still, I like this black heifer in second. She's stout-legged, big, deep-bodied, still ties in tight the top side of her shoulder, got some dimension. We put her in motion. She just isn't as fluent as I'd like to see her as she goes. She wants to labor just in head a few different directions in just a slight way, but a very, very good heifer that I like really well. I do like the freshness, the presence and maternal look that this white one gives us. She's very good about her head and neck in terms of femininity, good in terms of body, but I think we put her in motion. She just gets a little tighter in her pasterns, wants to bow her hock just a little bit, and I'd change that about her. She just gets a little different in terms of the top two, but it still doesn't change the fact she's really a high quality female that does a nice job. Young lady, bring your heifer out here because she was in that top four as we walked up, and I probably should have left her out here. This is the other high quality heifer of this class. She's really good in the angle to her shoulder, her flexibility off of both ends. Where she gives up compared to the cattle ahead of her is just I like to refine her head, thin her neck up, and just clean her up a little bit in terms of depth to her neck. But I like her flexibility, I like her kind, just a good kind of a female. Next heifer coming out, I think just a good square built, really nice made female in terms of the way she is down her top, out there through her hip, just a little straighter in terms of her front shoulder, needs a little more flexibility. The next two coming out are probably two that probably just a little more conditioned, and we could talk about them, and not to pick on them, from a structure standpoint, but we would change it from there. What I see them as just, round-ribbed, heavy-muscled cattle that got some doability to them. So congratulations, young ladies. Folks, give them guys a nice round of applause. We finish out our last class.
The results coming in for class number 5. Seventh place comes from LCCC's Livestock Show Team. Sixth place comes from LCCC's Livestock Show Team. Fifth place is Owen Werakis. Fourth place was Willow Martinez. Third place, Tyson Johnson. Second place, Reed Pratt. And your class winner comes from Jet Jameson. At this time, now we will bring back our class winners from classes 1 through 5, and our judge, Mr. Chad Holtkamp, will select your top 5 overall individuals for your prospect breeding heifers. Also, if I didn't mention it once before, this is the last cattle show here in Stadium Arena. In all seriousness, though, this has been an amazing place. If you talk to anybody from the stock show, any exhibitors, you will know that this place has a lot of history and it means something to them. For me, this specific building is where I showed. My dad sat here ringside for over 15 years and announced every single cattle show. He passed away in 2021. Due to COVID and the COVID pandemic, and I have since taken up his responsibilities of announcing, and I'm appreciative of National Western allowing me to do so. It's been a true honor to be the last Almer to announce in this show ring. I appreciate everybody here, just like everyone. You have your own stories, and they make this place unique, and National Western Stock Show such a historic place. And so from my family to anyone that we've called their names, we appreciate that. National Western and the show industry is a truly amazing place to be a part of. It's historic, and we're going to build great new memories in the Legacy Building. So we appreciate everybody being here for this last cattle show in Stadium Arena.
Well, as we get to this point, just absolutely, my pleasure and honor, privilege to be here. So many of you have your own memories of the stock show, and this brings so many emotions as he talks about that, what it's meant for so many. It's just, there's so much pride, passion, the amount of blood, sweat, and tears all the exhibitors have done to get to this point and went through this arena, and the impact it's had on this cattle industry of where we're at in bring upon these young people has just been so important. Yeah, I'll share just a little quick as far as kind of what it means to me as well. Not only to get to judge a show, but to come out here and as a 10-year little boy for Christmas, I got plane tickets to come out here to the National Western Stock Show with my dad. We just had showed locally, and we never showed at this level, never tried to compete at this level. But I remember just the awe of my first plane ride, to come out here to Denver to see the foothills, to come out here and watch the cattle, and just the magnitude of walking into this ring. And we came to watch the Angus show, and just to see those Angus cattle out here, it was moving, And the thing that he did for me, and when I'm talking about my father and my parents, they showed me a passion. It's something so many we do for these is we find a passion, to want to do this and have it. And we look at this building as we move forward. I know it gets to be bittersweet, and I know we want to go ahead and go. And, I was thinking about that, how to say that, and it's been a great facility. But you think back 116 years ago, we don't drive the same tractors. We don't have the old farm trucks. They're different how you get to town. We've got to move forward. I think what we focus on, what's most important, is that we have folks at the National Western that are here that have the insight, the knowledge, that look forward for more than themselves and look for the industry to go ahead and take the time, find the money, and get us a better facility. And I tell you, as we move on from there, and you may have your memory here, but I guarantee next year you put your blood, sweat, heart, and tears in a project and come out here and succeed, you will be as bonded to that new facility as you are to this facility. I guarantee it ain't going to make a difference. It's just, it just becomes overwhelming as you look and talk about it. This is a vehicle, to raise, the young folks, and I want to say something to young people, and you talk about those folks that may not know you, but they do put it forward for the young people. We want these young people, to learn a lot from this. And I think more so than a facility, what we got to make sure we never miss is that this is how we connect generations. We need to make sure that we don't forget why we're here. You want to know that your honesty, integrity, and what you say is what you do. You can look somebody in the eye, and a handshake still means something. I think that means very important. So take a second, give yourselves a nice round of applause, and enjoy this facility. And I'll talk about the heifers real quick, get you a champion. Now, this lineup is one that you could get down here and could not be prouder of. You talk about how good these things are, and you could make a justification for any one of these ones that you want to. I think we've got, cattle that have quality and kind and break them down, but just to have this kind of quality, and it means something to these young people, because whoever wins this division here in a second, they're going to win the last division at the National Western, and that's a huge honor, well-deserved, and the top 5 is going to be awesome. Put your hands together. I'll get you some champions.
Your champion prospect breeding heifer comes from class number 4. That is going to be Kelton Arthur with a weight of 886. Your reserve champion also comes from class number 4. That's going to be Kira Bremer with a weight of 861. Your third overall comes from your class number 3. That is Kennedy Arthur with a weight of 814. Your fourth overall comes from class number 5. That's Jet Jameson with a weight of 936. And your 5th overall comes from Class 2. That is Abby Tolock with a weight of 728. Congratulations to all of our breeding heifer exhibitors. We appreciate our judge, Mr. Chad Holtkamp, evaluating the livestock for the last time up here on the hill. Next year, we will be down in the Legacy Building, and we'll echo exactly what he said. Everybody's got your own story of this historic stadium arena. We appreciate it. We love to hear them. And we will be back next year down in the yards at the Legacy Building. Up next in the schedule for Inside Stadium Arena will be our llama and alpaca show. That will start at 1 o'clock. So we will do pictures at the backdrop with our official photographers of Legacy Livestock, Heidi and her family, doing a great job back there, being the official photographers of the 2025 National Western Stock Show. They do a great job of getting their pictures taken, edited, and posted. So if you're looking for them, you can find them on legacylivestock.com. Appreciate everybody joining us ringside, as well as everyone watching online at ringsidelive.co. That's going to do it for us here in Historic Stadium Arena.